Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's October the 9th. It's hard to believe this week's almost over, but all I can do is just say, wow, the last 2 days have just been incredible. And I wish I'd have hung around yesterday because I missed all of this. Um, and really, again, the big movement didn't start today until say 10:30 or so, after 10 o'clock, 10 to 10:30 range. And man, the for everything we went up yesterday, we took it all back and then some today. But in the end, as day traders, we don't care where it goes. All we want is for it to go. And when it goes like this, and when it goes like this, you don't get a lot of days like that. At least we haven't in a while. But lately, the volatility's been really good. So when you get days like this, if you got time, I know I generally say, try to get your target and quit for the day. But on a day like this, when you get some big runners like this, if you can get a runner going, it's almost worth hanging on, because when you get a day that's down this hard, it's generally the market's going to close on or very near its low. And if you get one going up this high, it's going to close on or very near the high of the day. And so, you know, you don't get burned that much on corrections. Don't give it all back. Don't take that the wrong way either. But if you can get a runner going and you got 4 or 5 points lock in 4 or 5 points, and then let it keep going. And then when you get another 5 or 10 points down, lock in another five. Always don't get it too close, because you'll get stopped out on a little correction like this, only to see it keep going. But when you start to see a correction like that, it's probably best to exit. Once you start making multiple higher, when one of these swings is higher than these last few, you may get a new low again, but that's probably not a good sign. Things are probably about to correct. So, if you could exit down in here somewhere, and usually you can find these targets. This was my early morning target. We had this first leg down, so this is my second target, and that was it to almost a tick, and it really struggled to get through there, and they finally corrected a little bit, and it took off again. And so if you were still trading, which it was still early, luckily for me today, and I didn't get out of here as early, so I got to trade a little bit longer today. So really good day. And actually, for the second target, I would have used this entire first move down, which I'd call maybe right there, and then you got your little correction. And once it started going lower, that would have been my area for my second target. And you can see we overshot that. We reached about that area. We overshot it a little bit, and then pushed one more time lower, and then we corrected there. So, and we kind of ended in that area, and that would be maybe a good exit location. And if you think back, if you were able to get in up here and ride this all the way down, and you exited right here, well, then you exited at a good location. You may not have got every last point out of it, but you got the majority of it, and you got out pretty much where it became dangerous. So to hang on any longer, in other words. So that's a good place, and those targets are generally very good places to exit. So really good day. This looks a little messy. Notice the bigger green channel. That it looks kind of like a spiking channel, and it's hard to argue with those lines. They didn't hold very well at the bottom, and maybe they're a little bit lower. Maybe they're down in here, and maybe this is a little bit lower. But one thing about this, when you get these equal distance channels, they're equal distance. So in other words, your midline can't be way up here and this part be this wide, and this part be that wide. Because I see people send me charts like that. Even though that may look valid, it's not right. It's going to be an equal. Oops. This one is going to be an equal distance from this one, so it's got to be right in there somewhere, and we're just overshooting it down here if it's valid. And it does tend to seem to be holding and turning prices. But early on, I'm just going to take this off because I don't think you needed it. This was the one I was working on, and you can see that this one definitely looks better. We overshot it here, and notice we overshot it when it came down here. But when we came back, it all was still in play. And I didn't mark anything much afternoon, so none of this was marked. I mean, there's so many trades in there that it's going to be hard to get through this whole thing and talk about everything I wanted. So I didn't, there's plenty of trades to look at and talk about here. And there's actually a short right in here, too, that I forgot to mark. Um, and it's going to be green, but I definitely want it marked. Okay, that way I won't forget to talk about it. And there's other trades in here. Some of them are more aggressive. Some of them are, notice where all the best trades off. They're off the swing highs all the way down. And, we talked about that in the last video. The trend is down. You want to be looking at short. And it looks a little rangy right in here, but notice there's no longs marked. But notice what's happening. Each one of these swing highs is slightly lower than the last one. And the swing lows are still, except for this one, they're still working kind of lower. So that's not a good sign for the bias is down, and you're looking for a measured move from here that looks like this. And that got you to right here. That's what that line is across there. That was my measured move. I took the arrow off now. And look, if you exit there, you might have got a few more ticks out of that if you really hung on. But who wants to risk that when you can get out a tick or so above that bar and get almost all of that move except for maybe 3 ticks of it? If you can get 3 ticks, all but 3 ticks out of a move, if you generally on a move even like that, if you can get all but 3 points out of it, you've done extremely well. So don't get greedy, because if you get greedy, then it bounces, and next thing you know, you're stopped out and you gave half your profits or all your profits. Or you get for that matter, you got a day like yesterday that was working down, and then you get a reversal, and it ends up being a loser by the end of the day. So, but let's talk about the trades. My battery's a little bit low on my headphones. Hope I can get through this. Seems like everything's still working now, so I'm going to move forward real quick. But I usually come in about 7. Somebody asked me that this morning. I usually start trading about 7. You can see the movement started fairly decent. It starts to move fairly decent around 6 o'clock my time, sometimes even earlier than that. But between 6 and 7, prices generally start moving. So I usually try to get here about 7 o'clock and start trading about 7 o'clock. And you didn't really want to be buying this right here. So the first trade I saw I could go short that was halfway decent was almost 8 o'clock. So I sat here for a while this morning before I really got a good setup. And notice that you had this working. Let me move this. Let me make it a little bigger now. You had this little channel working up. You got your break. You tried to go higher once. You pulled back. You tried to go higher again, and it trapped. And that's not a very good setup. But we were looking for a new low, so I was just looking for a reason. This is one you might use a limit order on. It was a quick, easy scalp, but it bounced. But if you move this over here at that time, you don't have any history here, so it looks pretty good at that point. You can see right there, it looks fairly decent. Now, if this would have closed on its low, I would have liked it even better, but it didn't. So I liked using a limit order here, and it broke lower, and you had a couple of extra ticks to scalp out, but I would just wait then. And you might have even thought about going long here. I'm going to go ahead and mark it as a green one. It's a little bit aggressive, but there's a trap right there, and those traps generally will succeed. Especially now that you're finding some support right there. It tried to go lower again, tried to go lower a second time. So you figure it's going to test that just to see what happens. And that's what prices do. They're always testing support and resistance. So if you understand that, you know where prices are probably headed the next go round. So you finally get this double top here, and you get a big bearish bar. I like that one for sure. And there's one leg up, pull back, and there's a second leg up, even though there's a little trap there. It's like a two-legged move up. And big bearish bar, and it broke higher, and notice the closes are about the same. So I like that one for a short, because you're still looking for the low, and it comes down here, and this one can't close any lower. The stems didn't even go as low. You get a bounce, but notice how this one turns down quicker. And this is a second entry short, counting from here. This is actually a new swing high because it's higher than that swing, even though it's not higher than this one. It's still a new swing high because it's higher than that one. So first entry, pull back. It's a lower high. Second entry, and you're looking for a measured move. And I think you got pretty much a perfect measured move there. There's leg one and leg two. It's a perfect measured move. And you got a nice bearish bar again there. And it goes a little lower and it comes back and it makes a little lower high again. And originally I had this right here, and it may still be there. It works there either way. Sometimes when you go out real far on the chart, you look like you're touching something and you're not. So that's probably where it should be. And you turn down right off that line again, and you get a first entry long. It breaks a little bit lower than those two, pulls back. And that's like a breakout pullback short, and it's right off of that trend line. So it's like two tries to go higher, and I liked it. You know, and you're thinking that you're going to come down and test this low still, because we still don't have a new low, and you're looking for a measured move, which is way down here. And I really thought we were going to go straight on down and get it, but we don't. You know, prices move a little bit, and they start trying to buy it, and people thinking it's moved too far, and suddenly it's going lower again. So I like that one. And then this is a little congestive area, but you had to be able to. You should have had this trend line for sure in place now. And if you drop it down here off of this high, I originally had it a little bit higher, like right there, and that may still be right, but you can't really get a measured distance in here that way. So I ended up adjusting it, and it's obvious that, you know, later on as it comes into play, and that's the right place, and now it's equal distance between the two. It may be just a tad lower than that actually. But anyway, that's what was causing that little congestive area there. But then notice this, it's the first entry, pull back. It's like a little two-legged correction back to this short-term trend line. It broke higher, turns, and I had a stop right there. And it closed and opened immediately. So as soon as this bar here closed, my sell stop was filled instantly. And it was a nice little quick move down, and then it bounces. And this one was a little iffy. I went back and forth whether or not to make this one green, but we're still looking for the measured move. We're looking for a new low here. You're probably better off to wait on a second entry, and that is a little bit bullish up through there, but there's a trend line that I've taken off. And I originally drew that trend line like so. Right up through there like so. And so we get outside it. And so there were some different reasons that I kind of like that one. And that may not even be right. It still may be a little flatter than that. Like so. So you're looking, either way, you're still looking for a new high. So, and you didn't have that break yet or new high. You're still inside this trend line, but you undershot this line by this much, so you're probably going to undershoot this one by that much. And so that's why I really like that one. That's a little more advanced, so I'm going to go ahead and make this one green. And you'll hear me talk about that sometimes. That's a sure sign you're reading it right when you get these equal distance misses. If it overshoots that much and then it undershoots the other side, that equal amount, that's a good sign. And that's why I really like that one, but that's a little more advanced. I'm going to change it to green. And then you got a leg up, and generally I'll tell you to wait on a second entry off the high, but I really thought we were going to come on down to this lower line, and that's what I was looking for. I was really surprised when it bounced again here. And, you know, I don't see any way to get long right here. And you don't want to take that first entry right there off that high. Wait on the second entry, because this thing could be reversing now because we didn't get down here like I thought we should, or as quick as I thought we should. Still turned out I was right. That's where we were headed, but it just took a little more work than what it looked like. So wait on the second entry, which comes here, and notice that new high, pull back. It goes up, makes a little lower high, and then turns down. I like going short there because you're still looking for that new low over here. You did actually make a new low right there, but you're still looking for the measured move over here is what I meant to say, not your new low. Measured move over here. And then you get the failed second entry long, and look how bearish. That's a perfect setup bar. It traded way up here and turned and closed on this very low. And again, I already had my stop sitting there waiting on it, and it gaps right there, and it fills me. And I wish I could have got a chance to put in my a limit order because it backed up way back. So you could have got filled all the way back to here on a limit order. But either way, it drops and takes off like a rocket again. And notice how everything's closing inside that line. You get another chance here, but you just can't go short right there. It's far too risky, right? And you've already bounced there a couple of times. You don't have a break of this yet, but I think you just got to wait. If you're already in, I don't see any problem with hanging on to your runners, but I don't think you want to add a new trade right there. It's too risky, and it ends up going where you think it's going to go, which that was my target, and then it bounces. But I don't think you can go long yet either because you have no break of this channel. And then again, you come back up to the line. You didn't quite get there, so you don't want to go. And this is a first entry right here, but it's rather bearish. But then you try to go higher again, and it breaks higher. It turns and it goes right out the other side. Just had to stop below that bar right there in case it did go out the other side. It did, and man, that thing drops almost instantly. So that was a real quick, nice trade. And then, of course, it bounces right there again. And it's so tempting to go long. But, you just can't go long on a sell-off like that. And we did reach our target, so that was another reason. But I think you had to wait on the trap to make sure that you're right. And we don't get it. And I don't have this line on here either. But there's a correction going on right there. You get your close and move to a new high, pull back. And then there's your second entry. And you've already got this little trend line working down through here. It closes in there. This is not a perfect setup bar, but notice this new low, pull back, first entry up, pull back, second entry up. So it's a failed second entry that way, and it's a failed second entry. If you're coming down, it's first entry, pull back, second entry. So there's two different ways it's a failed second entry either way. The trend has been down. This is the first break of this channel, and so now you're looking for the new low on the bigger channel. And so I like that trade, even though it's not a perfect signal bar. Use a limit order, and notice what happens. Even though you couldn't have probably got filled on the limit order on that bar, it comes back, and you could have gotten filled to one tick, actually two ticks back into that bar, and then it turns and goes straight down. But if you didn't get in there, here's a failed second entry long, counting on a little bigger picture. One leg down, pull back, second leg down, pull back, and that traps people to the long side. Go short right there. And again, you find some congestion, but guess what? It's bouncing off that trend line, and they've been trying to bounce it. So there's people thinking long here, and there's a little trap right there. Notice how it goes up, it pulls back, and it breaks higher. And the minute it breaks higher, it turns and goes down. And I just put a stop there. And that's the trade of the day. And it's right off that trend line. And that's the trade of the day right there, because any runners were safe, and it didn't take any time to run all the way back down to the low side. And that's where I'd start looking to exit, probably right down there, because that's where it's probably going to bounce. But notice this shorter term channel that you got going here too, and then it works its way back. There's a second entry short right there. First entry, you got a new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. I thought it was going to turn down right there, and it didn't, so it gives you another bar. You might have used the limit order here, and you would have gotten filled up to the bottom of that bar. I don't think you would have gotten filled a tick into it. And then you get a first entry that fails and turns down, but that's not a very good setup. Just wait and see if you get the trap, and then it comes back, tests the trend line again, and then you get that bearish bar. Now you got a failed second entry long. Notice the new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and again, you got people trying to pick bottoms, and that's what happens. They get trapped. They load up, and then when it turns lower, they all have to exit, and it goes rushing down. And I don't think you want to enter anything else down through here. It's just too risky. You know where the trend channel is. It did end up overshooting it, but that doesn't matter. You don't know that it's going to do that. Okay, sorry, I lost my volume there. And I don't know what the last trade you heard was, but you got a little channel working up here. You got a break, move to a new high, and there's a second entry, or actually the second entry shorts right here, but notice there's no break of this yet. So I didn't like going short right there. It looks like it would have worked. I don't think you want to go short there yet. We came up short here on the low side, so you figure we may overshoot it by that much. So that puts you to here. So this was real tempting right here. But this bar almost closed on its high and it's back inside. So there's a good chance we break lower and push higher back to this line. And that's really what happened. I didn't think it would look this bearish, but I was ready to go short below this bar, but it never triggered. So hopefully it didn't trigger on yours. It goes higher. And then I decided, well, you better wait on the second entry off the high. There's your first entry. It pulls back. And even though this did go a tick higher, it's still a double top. And that one tick higher really makes it more of a trap. And look how bearish that was. I like going short there. You don't know that it's going to take off that quickly, but you figure we're going to test these lows or test the trend channel again, and it makes a new low. And then and that gets you into lunchtime, and it's just more of the same. All just wait. There's your second entry. Finally, when you get back to the line, you get the failed second entry long right there. So that's a trap. Go short there. Look at here. First entry, pull back second entry. That's not a very good setup. Although look at all the stems. This is kind of congested looking. There's stems on both sides. But everything's below the EMA, and you're looking for it to go lower. So there's just umpteen opportunities. There's another. Notice that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, another failed second entry long. If you just waited on those, there's a second entry short off that low, and now you're working higher. So, and then draw your short-term trend lines. Get your break, moves to a new high. If you waited on your second entry right there, another easy trade. I mean, they're just here all day long. And if you just follow the rules and you're patient and you wait, and I hope that everything meshes together, because I did lose audio there for a little bit. I hope I didn't lose you I hope I covered everything. But if not, I apologize. And that's really about all. I mean, like I said, you should have made all the money you ever want to make by 10:30 today if you started even at the regular open. Because that was really the first trade or so I was able to take. And it's all downhill, really. There's no reason to be trying to pick. Even though there's longs that would have worked, I just don't see any reason to try to go long in this stuff. Because there's too many times it looks like it's going to bounce and it doesn't, and you get burned. And so you're better off just to sit tight and wait on it to come back. Wait on the moves up. And again, if you draw your trend line up there, you got your break, a new high, and then your second entry right there, and then your failed second entry long. I mean, you just follow the rules and be patient and don't be too eager to try to enter, and you got plenty of opportunities to make money today. Same thing yesterday of just doing it on the way up. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. Tomorrow's Friday, so we'll be back to do it again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.